What up, what up? Rocking the side pony here today, y'all. Here's my view. Isn't it glorious? So fucking lucky. So, if you're new to me, I'm Willow Bradner of willowbradner.com, the accidental psychic. And the hit that I've had is that we're all kind of coming from three places right now. And I want to talk about that from an intuitive perspective because I just want to make sure that you are living your best apocalypse. And that you are social distancing and staying at home and just generally being a badass through this entire experience. So group one is doing a kick-ass job of creating memes on Facebook and Instagram. But the memes predominantly are like, how are we gonna get through this? Oh my God, we're homeschooling. Holy shit, how many cocktails have you had? I'm gonna put on the quarantine 14. So I think totally okay because hey, we're all gonna get through this thing differently. But in order to thrive, what I wanna say is notice your coping mechanisms in this, like notice the discomfort that you're experiencing and maybe just allow yourself to be in the discomfort of it. Let it go in that space. Like just scream it out. Don't try to muffle the noise, but just like really get it out. And then when it comes to just the coping mechanisms of food or booze or being mad and feeling grudgy about it, see what you can do to lift that. It's gonna take a long walk. It's gonna take a hot bath. It's gonna take a good book. It's gonna take permission to go yell in your backyard. And I don't know if you've been a part of the Howl at 8 p.m. club, but check it out on Facebook so that you can get your madness out every single day so that you're not finding yourself at 2 o'clock with a cocktail in your hand trying to cope through this thing, okay? Group number two. So this is the other group that I'm noticing just in social aspect is the beings. Those who have already slid into allowance and permission to just surrender into the moment. Like this group's my favorite because they're like reading books, yo. They're like crushing this whole apocalypse because they just went, this is the first time I've never had to do anything. This is the first time that I've ever enjoyed my life. I'm gonna plant some things in the ground and grow some vegetables, and I'm gonna Marie Kondo my closet, and I'm gonna watch Netflix, and I'm gonna go for a walk, and I'm gonna make out with my spouse, and I'm gonna essentially do nothing in between all of the nothing that I'm doing. But in fact, they're doing everything, so that we're clear. Group two is in the stage of enjoyment and the pleasure aspect of this apocalypse. And being able to settle in, I think, is really, to me, I call it group two, but it's really stage graduation to the apocalypse. This is the group that is, when they look back on this, really going to be defined as the group who won. Group number three. Now, this is a member group that I'm in, is group number three. So I'm a little bit privy to this one. And really what it is many of us were called into action months ago. Like what I noticed for myself in a psychic regard is that I was called very quickly and very realistically to what I call clean up my shit before 2020. So like I did massive downloading, had hired somebody to help me like really clear out my energetic and emotional closets. I had to like really eradicate and dissolve some of my old patterns. I noticed that I have so much energy in this time, and that's really group number three, is that you have so much energy. And you may be really feeling called to action, and you may be really like triaging businesses and triaging humans, collecting canned goods, making signs. You might be driving around and picking up people and taking them to the doctor. You might be picking up supplies for people. You have been called to action, and you have so much energy in this time, and you're not feeling necessarily like there's any space to simply just be. So for our group 3, what I want to say is in effort to thrive in this, I think it is important to designate time every week to be, because we're never going to have this time again. And I think that you have to take advantage of it as well. Like, take advantage of this, you know, like take a moment, go for a walk and breathe for yourself. Because if you're going to hold space for the population in this way, group 3, then it's super, super, super important that you're holding space for yourself as well. I think ultimately, regardless of what group you're in or like how you identify with this, and you might be more than one, by the way, because like I think on any given day we're all pivoting between all 3. Like one day we're like, fuck it, I want the cocktail, and the next day we're like, just let me be, and the last day we're like, all right, we're moving into action, and then we're again right back where we started. So you may discover as you're like listening to this that you're kind of like a little piece of all 3, and I think that's true. But I think the big thing to identify with here is, who do you want to be when this thing is over, right? Like, what do you want to remember out of this experience? That you were shit-faced the whole time and feeling like shit and super anxious, or that you really reveled in a great book and found all that space and time that you've been wishing for? So like maybe your closets are clean and your garden looks great and you've hung out with your family in a way you've never hung out with them before. As well, being remembered or remembering back on this time for the action that you created, the people that you served, the kind of respect that you offered the world at this time, and like really how far did you go out of your comfort zone to be in an act of service. I think that's the real question that we need to be asking ourselves when we fall into pattern, when we fall into habit, is today, how do I want to feel? You know, like today, how can I thrive in this space? And again, if it takes locking yourself in your closet, like if you're in a place where you can't have this as your backyard and you have to lock yourself in a closet to get away from your kids or get away from your spouse or just hide from the world, that's okay. And if it's a matter of like tuning out and putting your earbuds in and listening to a book on tape and going for a walk outside, please do. We're all going to have to take turns here. We're all going to have to take turns taking care of ourselves, taking care of our children, taking care of our community. But number one is just checking in with yourself and reminding yourself that this isn't going to happen again. And I always like to just land this thought, like, we're never going to have this time again. I know that it feels like a prison sentence for some, but I also want you to feel into the experience of like, how many of you have said you've been too busy to blank? And now you can write, you can cash that blank check essentially for the time that we're being given. Like, what could you do in this time? Write a book? You could, you know, start a podcast. You could read 900 books. You could, you know, officially make out with your partner. You could really get to know your kid. You could masturbate every day. I don't know, whatever. You have fucking time. So when the time is starting to wear on you, start asking time what you're allowed to use in it, what you want to do with this, because this is what you're going to remember. None of us are going to forget this time, and we're never going to be given this vacuum of time again. So take advantage as best you can. Lots of love, you guys. Peace in. Happy cocktailing, happy being, and fucking happy activation.